I show 5:30, and we do not have any speakers regarding the agenda items. So, he's canceled. Thank you, thank you. That's okay, no, that's all right. I need that every once in a while. So the Pine Bluff City Council meeting for June the 1st, 2015 is hereby called to order. May we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brummett.
Here.
Alderman Steps.
Here.
Alderman Walker. Alderman Boyd.
Here.
Alderman Brown Sr.
Here.
Alderman Mays.
Here.
Alderman Holcomb.
Here.
Alderman Brown Jr.
Here.
Walker was here, she just, I don't know what she wouldn't, she's been here, so I don't know why she.
Okay, each of you have a copy of the minutes from May the 18th, 2015. At this time, I will entertain
So
a
moved.
motion to, okay.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the minutes from May the 18th be approved. Floor is now open for any comments. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the committee reports, Ways and Means, Alderman Brummett. That was not voted in.
All right. Ways and Means Committee met prior to the meeting. We have two budget adjustments that were in our packet. The first one is from the Inspection Department. The amount is $6,366.10. I think everybody's aware that the state legislature changed some audit procedures, and then during the audit, it was determined that we needed to change some of the fees that we were charging. Therefore, we have to have this $6,366.10 to meet the requirements from the DF&A. I move we accept this budget adjustment.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment in the amount of $6,366.10 be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have an officer in the police department that's retiring with 716 hours of unused sick leave. The total amount is $16,847.48, and the department will provide these funds from within their department in the salaries part of their budget. I move we accept this budget adjustment from the police department.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment in the amount of $16,847.48 be approved for retirement of 716 hours within the police department. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Move that the bills that the city owes be paid.
Second.
Been properly moved and second that the bills for the city be paid. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes Ways and Means, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Ordinances and resolutions, Alderman Brummett.
Yes, Mayor, the Ordinance and Resolutions Committee met prior to the meeting. Items 1 through 5 will be read for the third and final reading. Item 6, the committee determined through discussions with the city attorney's office that this ordinance needed to go back through committee, so it'll be assigned back to Public Health and Welfare and will not be read tonight. Items 7 through 12 are resolutions, and they will be read and processed tonight by the council. That concludes ordinance and resolutions.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, can we add something to that?
Yes, sir.
On number 4, we're going to pull that one.
Number 4 is pulled?
Yes.
Okay.
Pull number 4.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to pull it because I was going to add one sentence in there, and I didn't get in touch with the attorney's office until it
Okay, thank you. Economic and Community Development, Alderman Brown Senior.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no special report. However, I think I always feel I need to be in touch with the city and the city council. And that we are a college town, and every town that has a college town basically has improved except for Pine Bluff. We're 40 miles from the city of Little Rock, which is our capital, and mostly it's hard to say that your largest city is your capital in most cities. However, Pine Bluff is right next door to Little Rock. It's not a real serious municipality from Little Rock to Pine Bluff, yet still every city that has a college, and I can make some examples. Of course, Fayetteville was much smaller than Pine Bluff, and they improved. I think they may be over 60,000. I don't know the exact figure. I know Conway has about 60, 64, 65, 73,000, I think, and Jonesboro have something in the 70s. However, what I'm saying is that the problem with Pine Bluff is that we're putting all our pressure on the city council, saying that it's the city council's fault, the reason why Pine Bluff is not progressing. And I don't want to really get into the serious parts of that right now. However, what I want to say to you is that we have bankers that are making from $500,000 to $1.5 million a year. We have alliance directors making from $150,000 to $200,000 a year. Those are the people that we should be in contact with, instead of saying that the city council is killing us and city council is keeping our businesses here. We need to talk to those people. You have the banks, the financial institutions, the lending institutions, the alliance, the chamber of commerce, your realties. Those are the people that should bring businesses here. And I want to tell you, after naming all 4 or 5 of those groups, most of them are all the same people. They are the same people. And that's likewise with your boards. Your hospital boards and your big boards, the 3/8 cent sales tax boards, basically cover the same people. And you're going to keep getting the same results. You know, we had a speaker 2 weeks ago that spoke of not having an all-black city council. Well, the city council is a majority black, because the city of Pine Bluff is a majority black. But I can remember when it was 8 whites and no blacks, and Pine Bluff didn't progress. I remember well when it was 7-1, when Chester Hines was the only one on there, and they named the center after him. I remember when it still wasn't right, Pine Bluff didn't grow. Because if Pine Bluff had grown when you had that, we wouldn't be sitting here trying to grow right now. We'd already be full grown with 100,000 people in it. So all I'm saying is that we got to stop putting the blame on the wrong people and put the blame on the right people. Now, as I said before, we passed a 5/8 cent sales tax and a 3/8 cent sales tax. And right now, nobody in this building can tell you how much money is in the 3/8 cent sales tax budget. They can't tell you because we don't talk to those people. We don't know who they are. I understand that one of our big directors make almost $200,000 a year. I'm not calling a name, but you can figure out who it is. I'm saying that if anybody in this building can tell me right now how much money is in the 3/8 cent sales tax budget, you don't know. It's been passed since 2011. It was supposed to amass $3.5 to $4 million a year. We don't know. So right now we're talking about from that time to now, it could have amassed from $12 to $15 million. That's what could be possibly that we don't know about where it's at. We were told that if we passed a tax, that Pine Bluff would totally change. We get jobs and we would get industry and businesses. And that hasn't happened. In fact, we've gone on the downslide. So I'm just trying to figure out, you put it all on small city council members. We don't make a lot of money. We do our best. We legislate the order of business and rules in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. We endorse businesses. We endorse new shopping areas. We endorse shopping centers. We endorse a private business of any kind. We legislate that part of it. We do not go out and recruit those businesses. We have people that's supposed to do that. So I don't want people to keep saying that it's the city council. We don't really argue up here. But every political body has discussions and debates. They do it every day. In fact, something happened last night in the United States. So don't jump on city council because we debate on issues. That's the thing we're supposed to do. That's why we're here. We're here to Speak up for the people that can't speak for themselves. That's why I'm here. I've been elected to 2 different bodies, the county body and the city body. Evidently, they like me speaking for them. I'm not bought, and I can't be bought. So they know I'm real, and they know I'm for Pine Bluff and Jefferson County. So I want you to be for Pine Bluff and Jefferson County. I want Pine Bluff to be the Mecca that it should be. We take care. Matter of fact, if you leave Little Rock and draw a straight line across, there's no other city bigger than Pine Bluff. We take care of Grant, Deshae, Cleveland, Bradley. I'm going to miss one. Arkansas. We take care of about 7 or 8 counties. And I understand somebody says it's about 10 or 11, but I can name at least 8 that Pine Bluff has to supply. We should not have this, and we should not have that. We should have everything a growing city should have. We also should have people. We need people. Everybody keeps saying, well, let's get Pine Bluff straight, let's get the crime straight. Yes, but we also need people. That's crime in Chicago, that's crime in St. Louis, that's crime in Atlanta, that's crime in D.C. Washington, D.C., that's crime there. I understand that. I'm not going to get into that. But we have to stop making excuses for our growth and go and talk to the people so that we can grow. I'm just very upset with, we 45 minutes from the governor, and I never see him. Not just this governor we got, but the other governors. I never see them until it's election time. I was listening on the news this morning, Newport's finna get some new jobs. Why not Pine Bluff? These are the kind of things that we have to ask the people that we vote for, that we put in position to do things. Don't jump on city council. We can't bring a job. We endorse them. We will give you the rights to put your business in the lands of Pine Bluff. That's what we do. We do not bring the jobs. And I'm going to miss something that I want to talk about, but I think I've talked long enough, and thank you very much for listening.
Does that end your report? Public Health and Welfare, Alderman Brown Jr.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Public Works, Alderman Mays.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening, citizens. We didn't have a meeting. We're trying to schedule one for the month of June. I'll let you all know when. But in the meantime, we're having a lot of problems with the rain, but the potholes in the 4th Ward as well as the other wards in the great city of Pine Bluff. You can call our street department. They are doing a good job of filling them in. They're filled with water right now, but they are filling them in. You can reach them at 543-5101. That's 543-5101. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, sir. Development and Planning, Alderman Boyd.
No report, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Traffic and Aviation, Alderman Holcomb Jr.
Mayor, Traffic and Aviation met on Thursday, May the 28th, on items 10 and 11, with the recommendation of due pass to be brought before the council. That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Administration, Alderman Steps.
Mayor, I don't have a written report, but I have a letter that was written from one of our citizens concerning there was some shooting that occurred over in Central Park, over there near the basketball goals. And there were 5 shots that landed in this woman's house, and she said it landed about this far from her. And her house was not the only house that received these shots. My concern is, and the thing I talked about before, when we put those basketball goals in these neighborhoods, it's not gonna be the people that live there, but everybody that comes in there to play basketball. And that basketball goal is gonna create a problem any and everywhere you put them. And this woman, this happened on May 18th. And she asked here, we need to establish and enforce a carefree for the area, that's number 1. Increase the police presence, number 2. Option 3, close the area. I think that option 3 is what should happen, because if we keep allowing different groups, as I understand it, based on what she said, now they're claiming territorial area on the court. We don't need it. The basketball courts they're gonna create a problem anywhere you put them, especially if you're gonna have a curfew, if you're gonna have police present there. And if we're not careful, somebody in that neighborhood will be killed or injured. And I'm suggesting that if we got families that's making this kind of request, I suggest we move them out of that neighborhood and any other neighborhood that they got problems in.
Can we take that to public safety or have a meeting on that and
Yes,
discuss
yes.
it further?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to suggest that.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
That's the end of my report.
Thank you, sir. Public safety, Alderwoman Walker.
Mayor, I have a report from the fire department for May structural fires 9, vehicle fires 6, grass fires 13, emergency medical response 205, vehicle accidents 25, alarm system 30, false alarms 24, and others 80, for a total of 392 calls, in addition to other things that the fire department has done. That's the end of my report.
Does that conclude? Is that what you said? Okay, thank you. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions.
Mayor, we have an ordinance amending provisions regarding maternity leave in section 7.4 of the non-uniform employees handbook up for the third and final reading.
An ordinance amending provisions regarding maternity leave in section 7.4 of the non-uniformed employees handbook.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance amending provisions regarding maternity leave in section 7.4 of the non-uniform employee handbook be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have an ordinance amending provisions regarding internal promotions and transfers in section 3.9 of the non-uniformed employees handbook up for the third and final reading.
An ordinance amending provisions regarding internal promotions and transfers in section 3.9 of the non-uniformed employees handbook.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance amending provisions regarding internal promotions and transfers in section 3.9 of the non-uniform employees handbook be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have an ordinance amending provisions regarding job abandonment in section 5.8 of the non-uniform employee handbook up for the third and final reading.
An ordinance amending provisions regarding job abandonment in section 5.8 of the non-uniformed employees handbook.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance amending provisions regarding job abandonment in section 5.8 of the non-uniform employees handbook be approved. Floor is now open for discussion.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Mayor. Thank you. This come through it came through the committee that I also was in. I think Alderman Steps was the chairman, and I did have a problem at the time. I may still have a problem, so I want to make notation that I was trying to take the human factor out of this particular ordinance by changing, I forgot exactly what it was. Ms. Walker know what it was, Alderman Walker. But I'm putting it on record that I did have a problem with it could possibly be it could be very personal in this particular ordinance. And I was trying to freeze out the personal, the human factor, but it passed through that committee with a due pass without my vote, and I'm going to reserve my vote tonight. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
President.
Motion passes.
Okay, Mayor, we have an ordinance adopting protocols and internal accounting controls for audit and accounting purposes for the assignment of duties relating to the dispersing of funds for payroll, bonded debt, and construction projects funded with bond proceeds, up for the third and final reading.
An ordinance adopting protocols and internal accounting controls for audit and accounting purposes for the assignment of duties relating to the dispersing of funds for payroll, bond debt, and construction projects funded with bond proceeds.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance adopting protocols and internal accounting controls for audit and accounting purposes for the assignment of duties relating to the dispersing of funds for payroll, bonded debt, and construction projects funded with bond proceeds. Floor is now open for discussion. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I was looking for Mr. Miller. Is he here?
No, sir, he wasn't able to be here tonight.
Anybody from that department?
Which one?
I was looking for Mr. Miller. Anybody?
Oh, Miller, okay. Gina,
Gina,
Ms. Devers?
Thank you. May I ask her a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we are currently doing this now.
Yes, these are procedures that we have in place. There was a law passed by the legislature in March that says if we're going to continue doing this, then the council has to pass an ordinance saying it's okay.
Why didn't we pass it before?
Well, the law was just passed in March.
But we were already doing it.
Right, we didn't have to have a law before. I mean, we didn't have to have an ordinance. There was no law saying we had to.
So nothing is changing.
Nothing is changing.
Going on record again to hear that nothing is changing. We're
Nothing.
not giving power to not a certain group of people or a certain person, no banks,
No.
no lending institutions. We're not giving out certain powers to nothing different. We're doing the same thing we've been doing.
Right, we've been doing payroll with ADP since 2007. Simmons has been handling the bonds since they were issued.
Please, y'all help me make that notation. Thank you.
Okay.
I think what we're referring to here as state legislature had to vote on this. And because the way that our practices were, they had to do this. Several other cities were doing the exact same thing, so they're having to vote the same way.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
Okay, I had spoken to Representative Ken Ferguson, and he was one of the sponsors
Yes.
for this. And there were other cities that was doing the same thing. Of course, in 2013, when we had our legislative audit, they found us not in compliance because of the fact that we were outsourcing it, correct?
That is correct.
And so in order to come in compliance, as other cities may have, that the legislative said that it could be outsourced.
Yes, that's when they passed the law in March.
But they did not say that we had to, it said that we should file, that the city council would approve us outsourcing it, correct?
They said that the council had to pass an ordinance in order.
They have to, or it said that the council should approve.
I believe that in the law, it says that the council has to pass an ordinance. I've got a copy of it. I can,
Yeah. So,
let me get it.
and also, it said that it's incorporated as set forth, word for word. I think I can ask the city attorney.
That refers to the protocols that the finance department has drafted. The language talking about being incorporated word for word refers to the protocols which the finance department has developed in compliance with this Act 582, which required that they come up with protocols for the transfer of funds in-house via the internet. And so those are attached to the ordinance. Right behind the last page of the ordinance, you'll see the ADP payroll, internet accounting, and protocols. So that's what's referred to as being incorporated word for word.
Any other questions for Ms. Devers? Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we'll move on to resolution number 7. A resolution requesting Mazan Raymond returned as personal representative for ETC Engineers and Architects Incorporated in its management of the city's bond projects.
Whereas the city has contracted with ETC Engineers and Architects Incorporated to serve as project manager for the city's multiple bond-funded improvement projects, and whereas at the time the agreement was executed, ETC was represented by Mr. Mazan Raymond, and it was assumed and understood that Mr. Raymond would be ETC's representative in fulfilling its contract to serve as projects manager for the city. And whereas ETC appears to have replaced Mr. Raymond as its representative, and whereas due to the fact that Mr. Raymond has been involved from the beginning with the city in planning and oversight of these projects and has knowledge of the players involved, attributes which cannot simply be handed off to a new representative, his continued participation would be advantageous to the expeditious completion of the projects and beneficial to the city. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, the mayor is directed to communicate to ETC the strong desire of the city that Mr. Mazan Raymond be returned as its representative with the city in performance of its contract as projects manager for the city's bond projects.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
At this point, I wanted it read, but I am going to pull it because of the fact that Mr. Mazan has a contract with the city, and he is also a representative for all of these projects as well as the multipurpose center. And until I see where he is being squeezed out or anything, I'll reserve this until later on. But he is over all the bond projects that we have, and that include the multipurpose center. And I'm assuming that he will be notified when we have such meetings. And until then, I will pull it and bring it back if necessary.
I just want to ask a question. Did he show up was there a meeting last week?
Yes,
with him?
there was.
Okay. What was the result of the meeting? I didn't attend. I don't know if you.
The result of the meeting is that right now his services are not needed because the architects and the construction people are responsible for it. And for him to come down to Pine Bluff and tell us that he's not responsible anymore, it cost us $450.
That is not what he said. We have a contract. I had called him today to get the contract. So, in fact, I had meant to call him before. But at the next council meeting, I will have his contract because he is under contract with us until all these bond projects are finished.
Is Mr. Matthews here?
I'm not talking about what Mr. Matthews.
I'm calling Mr. Matthews
you
up
can
here.
call- you can
Thank
call
you.
him.
I'm going to do that.
But
Mr.
we
Matthews,
still-
would you please come to the
still
podium and tell us what
on here.
Mr. Mazan said at the meeting? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. At the meeting, we had a bond meeting, and it was not necessarily just for Mazan. It was a report on all the projects was given in the process. Each architect, each engineer that the city has hired was there, including Mazan Rockmont. And in the discussion, we did go over his responsibilities with the projects as to where his role would be. And it was discussed that once the projects are given to an individual engineer or individual architect, that project, once that is done, becomes his project. Now, he did not abandon the project. He said he's on what we call an on-call basis. If there was a problem and that we needed him to come, he's on call. We pay him by the hour. We have a contract with him, but he bills off that contract by the hour. So he is not gone, but he will only come down on those projects that we will call him in for review. Now, we will use Mazan for review of the final project before we bring it back to the council. Before we even carry it to the mayor, the architect and engineer wants to make sure that he has reviewed the project. But until then, he has no process or no responsibility in the role because it's still under design or still having preliminary plans. Except for the Townsend Park project, that is his project. That's what we signed the contract with. Until that project is complete, he will be on call. That's his responsibility. But now we will lean to him on final review before we even bring it to the mayor, or before we even bring it back to the council on any projects that going forth.
Well, you know, we get different feedbacks from his position and what project and so forth. At first, he was, because Townsend Park was at the stage that it is now, that he was not needed.
No,
And
he is, that's his project.
But when was he down here? When was he even called when there were meetings on Townsend Park?
Well-
He was not notified.
Well, he didn't necessarily have to attend. He sent his representatives because he has a company which has other architects and engineers. They designed the project. Mr. Mazan did not design that himself. He had
I
people
know
within
he
his
did
office.
not, but
Yes.
if he is over the project, then he should have been notified each time until Townsend Park was finished.
Well, he has attended.
And,
He has attended.
but see, we get different feedback. We can go back to the minutes. And when it says that, well, he done all he's supposed to do, so now we are gonna finish Townsend Park all by ourselves. You know, we don't need him anymore. But see, that's what happens when things turn around and get going a different direction. As the splash park, he was over the splash park, and from the design that the splash park originally was, it's not even, it doesn't look like what it was originally supposed to even look like.
Well, all I can say, Ms. Walker, he has the contract on Townsend Park. He has the contract on the splash pad. He had the contract on the restrooms. His company, we signed the contract with ETC. Now, he is the president of ETC, so he has people who work for him that actually does design work and things such as that. He is still responsible either as ETC or as Mazan.
But he has not, how is he going to be responsible if he doesn't know what is going on? He hasn't been notified. He told me that himself, and I know I've been to one meeting, and he was there then. I didn't see him anymore. And then when he came down the last time, see, we going back and forth saying he's in, he's out. But what's going to happen is we're going to end up with some things that is not correct, that is not with the original design, like the splash park and possibly Townsend Park. And at this point, that Mazan need to be on the projects because of the fact that he does know what is going on and he's responsible.
Well, once again, I'll just kind of repeat, those were his projects. He signed off on all those drawings and pay requests. They come directly from him, either as Mazan or as ETC. But I'm here for whatever Mayor directs me to do.
My statement to all of this is that if you're over the project, you shouldn't have to be notified, because that's your responsibility. And he sends representatives down at different times to oversee those projects, so he shouldn't have to be notified.
If he is over a project, how does he know when there's a meeting if he's not notified? And anybody, if you're having a meeting, they are not set up meetings that says we're going to have a meeting every Monday or the first Monday of the month. The meetings are set up and he is not notified.
I can't speak to that. I don't know.
It's a multipurpose
Well-
center.
I don't know.
He is responsible for the multipurpose center, correct? That is under his
No.
contract?
No,
That's not his contract.
he's not.
That multipurpose center is Crafton Tall.
But Mazan was brought in as one of the consultants with the multipurpose center, right?
Well, he's the project manager for them.
Right,
He's the project manager for
Right.
multipurpose.
right.
So,
But all the discussions about the multipurpose center, he hasn't been brought in.
no, because that goes to Craft and Toil. That's why we hired Craft and Toil to come up with preliminary designs and meeting with the committees as to see what the committee is dictating to them to present. And once that's done, Mazan will review that. We don't pay Mazan for any design work, any preliminary work.
I know he is to review it, but once you're gonna review it, once it's halfway up, like it is at Townsend Park. Because see, person will say, well, he doesn't have anything to do with this, he doesn't have anything to do with that, and we can't pay him $150. We talk about $150, but when we start on the project and then there's not enough money, people come back to the council for another $500,000, a quarter or $500,000. But we are concerned about $150 if it was there on the front end.
Well, once again, all I can say, those were his projects.
Okay.
And he was notified, and he sent a representative, he could have came himself, but he was aware of every aspect that went on in Townsend Park and the splash pad.
Okay, I just want all this for the record.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Well, excuse me, may I speak?
Yes, sir.
I agree with Alderman Walker, as far as those projects, the scopes of those projects goes. We need to stop fooling the citizens with these projects. I spoke with Mazan as well. A lot of those scopes of the initial projects, the blueprints were altered after he was moved out the way. Now, we need to stop fooling these citizens and muddying the water with a lot of discussion a lot of times. And it's not fair to our citizens because of this propaganda up here. And I'm working on a item or I'll get with Alderwoman Walker and the rest of the aldermen to come up with a solution to try to fix some of these issues that we're having. Once again, we don't need to be fooling these citizens about these projects because the citizens are looking for us as leaders in order to help the city grow. And we know what's going on, and it's time for us to say it. You know, these citizens, they depended on us to lead them out of this, such as Alderman Brown Sr. was saying about moving our city up. And it's just time for us to do it. But back to fooling our citizens, it's time to stop that with this propaganda up here.
I've got a question. What's the propaganda? Because when somebody is awarded a contract, design work, and they're awarded a contract, they're responsible for it. So Mazan was never moved out of the way on any of his projects. And I want to know what you're talking about as far as propaganda, because we've been watching this and working with it. The city council, think about this. Every time there was a budget change or there was a change order, the city council voted for that change order. You did. So you had to approve the change and the change order and the money that went with it. The city council did.
Well, in the beginning, Mayor, I approved some of them because the initial project started off where it wasn't any ground broken and it wasn't any tractors moving dirt. And when the projects got to going, I was looking at when we coming in with change orders, that's why we approved that change order a few weeks ago, that it has to come through the council, anything over $5,000, because what was happening was the contractors were getting big change orders, and you look around and they finish the project, and these projects are costing right at $1 million. I mean, you can always say, and Mr. Matthews and Mayor, you can always say that everything is so high, but anybody can go out there and look at that and say that stuff doesn't cost no $750,000 to $1 million. I mean, I mean, to get $1 million worth out of community-friendly projects, I just can't see it, and that's why I stopped voting for a lot of those change orders when they start coming through. If you notice that, check the record.
And you're correct. Every change order, even if it's $1, has to be approved by the city council. There's no limit. 50 cents, $1, $10, whatever it may be. City council has to approve it on any change order.
I understand it, but when the projects were started out, you can't see what's going on until the project starts to moving. And that's what Mazan was saying, how a lot of these projects were altered during the course of the completion or the course of the startup, about a fourth of the way or 3/4 of the way.
Well, it was Mazan that changed it then. He was in charge of it.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Who was the architect on those projects?
Mazan?
Then once the architect has the drawing, then it is submitted out for a bid.
Correct.
And the contractor that gets the bid based on the drawings And when your drawings was done, then they came back and said, based on the drawings that we have here, there were some things that were left out.
In Townsend Park?
Yes.
That's correct.
And each one of those projects that you had the budget adjustments on, if you have an architect and some drawings, and you send it out for bid, and the drawing doesn't measure up to what they're requesting, then I can understand why some of these budget adjustments were being made because of the drawings.
That's
And I
correct.
guess that's what I'm trying to understand. I'm not trying to keep Mazan from not coming on and this kind of stuff. But if you had a person that's over the overall contract and the architect too, see, that's the thing that we have to understand, that he had two hats on. And when you wearing those two hats, and you're responsible for the drawings, now it goes out for bid. And when the contractors begin to look at the drawings and try to bid on it, then there's some things that were left out of the drawing. I guess that's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, my other question is this, Mr. Matthews, so what does Reed Architect and Nelson firm come in here at?
I'm gonna clarify this one last time. Mazan is the overall project manager for all the projects that the city put up.
Right, he didn't do the drawings.
No,
Right, that's what I
he's the
thought.
project manager.
Now, A.W. Nelson Group and Reed Group did the drawings.
No, sir. They didn't, they had nothing to do with Townsend Park. They had nothing to do with the splash pad. They had nothing to do with the restroom. Nelson Architect was the architect for the fire station. Craft and Toll is the architect for the multipurpose center. Reed is the architect for the animal control. They were also the architects for remodeling both fire stations on Pullen and the one out in Dollaway. McCullen Engineers is the engineers for pitch drain and the Dewdrop Drain project, as well as Highway 63 sewer projects. Those are the individuals who are in charge of those individual projects. Mazan was the project manager all the way up until the point when we select them as the individual architects and engineers. That's when his position ceases, because that particular rest of the project goes to those individuals, except for the projects that he was awarded. He has to see them all the way through. Now, he will come in and review any projects that we want him to review, but that is the outline of all the architects and engineers on all the projects that we've done. They design it, they see it all the way through, and Mazan can provide any kind of oversight that we request him to do.
Who designed the architecture work for Townsend Park?
Yes, Mazan, ETC.
Well, that's what my statement
Yes,
was.
sir.
That's what I understand.
Yes, sir.
And he was asking the question saying that he wasn't, but it's my understanding that Mazan, they were the architect on those three projects.
Yes, sir. They saw this project from its inception all the way till we complete the project.
Okay.
No other firm was involved but them. All change orders, all design work, once again, it came from ETC, which Mazan is the president of ETC.
And they're working with Reed and Nelson.
He worked with Reed and Nelson on those other projects.
But Reed and Nelson were not involved in Townsend Park or the Splash Park or the restrooms. They were not.
All of the change orders that came from Townsend Park came from ETC. All the change orders that came from the splash pad came from ETC. We didn't have any change orders on the restroom.
It just took a long time.
Yes, it did.
Was there a change in size from the splash park, from the original?
No, ma'am. The splash pad is the original size that it was. Now, grant you that it may look large on paper, and when you go out and construct the building with Lake Pine Bluff as a backdrop, it's gonna look small.
Well, you had some of those jets taken out of there, out the
Yes.
initial bottom. It
We had
was
to take the
supposed to be-
jets out, we had to take some things out in order to meet budget. Those were costly items, and when we made visits to other sites that had those jets, and they explained to us how much it costs once the kids break them, how much it costs to replace them, and the fact that once they go down, it may have to close down the park because those jets are part of the system. So it was decided to take those jets out. It was a recommendation by ETC to take them out.
And that was in the bathrooms as well, instead of putting the sensors in there, which was the initial scope of it, went back in and put just the regular buttons on those as well.
I'm not quite sure, but
He's talking about the faucets, the hand faucets.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. We learned through attrition by visiting other parks that we needed to change some things that was not working at their park, so we didn't want that problem, we didn't want that headache, so we took them out in the jets, and probably the little push button was probably those maintenance items that we found out that they had problems with, so we didn't want those headaches going down the road.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we pulled number 7, correct?
I think we did.
Okay, we're going
Okay.
to move on to number 8, which is a resolution requesting the mayor investigate acquisition of certain properties in the 400 block of Main Street in the city.
Whereas the structures on certain blocks on the 400 block of Main Street in the downtown area are in a state of disrepair, and whereas the properties are public nuisances, unsightly, and reflect poorly on the area and the city, and whereas a continuation of the status quo is unacceptable, and it is necessary for municipal government to step in and initiate the process of cleanup via acquisition by donation or eminent domain. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, the mayor is authorized and requested to investigate the acquisition of the properties in the 400 block of Main Street, commonly called the Old Band Museum and the VFW Building, through donation to the city or via eminent domain, so these properties may be cleared and used for public purposes.
Move for adoption. Second.
Motion fails for lack of a second.
Okay, we'll move on to number 9, which is a resolution directing the mayor to establish a working group of city officials and employees for the purpose of identifying city regulations and policies which inhibit economic
It's inhibits.
inhibit economic development and suggest incentives which the municipal government may lawfully adopt to stimulate job creation in the city of Pine Bluff and for related purposes.
Whereas it behooves municipal government to examine its regulations and policies to repeal unnecessary rules and make modifications to existing rules to remove strictures which inhibit economic development in the city. Whereas it is incumbent upon the municipal government to formulate incentives which may lawfully adopt to encourage job creation and expansion. And whereas city officials and employees who enforce city ordinances, codes, and policies have knowledge and experience from their work which qualifies them to identify areas for improvement and reform and suggest incentives that municipal government may enact to promote job growth. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. The mayor is directed to appoint a working group of city officials and employees for the purposes of identifying city regulations, rules, and policies which inhibit economic development, suggest modifications or repeal any such strictures, and suggest incentives which municipal government may lawfully enact to foster job growth in the city. The mayor should fix a deadline for the group to report back with its findings and recommendations and distribute the final report to council members.
Hey, hold on. You're not gonna let me do this here, and you're not gonna vote on it. This is something that, no, I'm not gonna do that again. As far as, move for adoption, and you all are not gonna support this thing. I know, I brought it up for discussion. This is all about incentives.
Wait a minute, are you going to ask for a motion? Are you asking
for
for a motion? Okay. The motion, Motion fails for lack of a second.
Okay, we move on to number 10, which is a resolution appointing Harvey Sizemore to the Aviation Commission.
Whereas the term of Gerald Andrews as a member of the Pine Bluff Aviation Commission has expired, and whereas the mayor has elected to appoint Harvey Sizemore to succeed Mr. Andrews, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the mayor's appointment of Harvey Sizemore to the Pine Bluff Aviation Commission to serve a term to expire May 31st, 2020 is hereby approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution appointing Harvey Sizemore to the Aviation Commission be approved. Floor is now open for discussion.
I was wondering, is Mr. Sizemore here today? Just some,
I do not see him, no.
okay, just wanted to acknowledge him if he was in the building, that's all.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Any others?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I made that announcement probably a month or 2 months ago that we need to start to see these people either through pictures on their application or definitely in the audience. We don't know these people. We don't make all the meetings, but we at least need to know who's on the certain committees in case we need to speak to them or talk to them somewhere in a store or something. We don't know who we're talking to. We don't know who we're appointing, and I think that's very elementary that we should at least know who we're appointing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution appointing Kedra Burrell
Kedra
Burrell
Burrell.
to the Aviation Commission.
Whereas the term of Kirby Mauser as a member of the Pine Bluff Aviation Commission has expired, and whereas the mayor has elected to appoint Kedra Burrell to succeed Mr. Mauser, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the mayor's appointment of Kedra Burrell to the Pine Bluff Aviation Commission to serve a term to expire May 31st, 2020 is hereby approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution appointing Kedra Burrell to the Aviation Commission be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Yes, sir.
I have a question. What is the time limit that one has to live in the city?
There's not one?
Or we don't have a time limit?
No, sir.
I was thinking that we had a time limit. Okay,
No, sir, we do not.
that was my concern.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
There again, is there a face here?
No, sir.
We need to see faces. I'm just going to reiterate that same statement that, perhaps you don't live in Pine Bluff or something. If you can't come, if you're being appointed to a committee or a commission, we need to see a face. We don't see one on the application and we don't see one in the building. It's very, very elementary for me to think that we're voting people on committees that we don't even know, and I don't really know this person. And so that's my take on that.
Alderman Holcomb?
Is it possible they can come to the next meeting?
Yes, sir. Any other comments?
Yes, Mayor, and I do not know the person at all, so it's nothing personal against the person. But I know that there are people that live in this city that have lived here for years that would love to contribute to the city and serve on boards. And this individual has been here 10 months. And we have people that participate in making Pine Bluff and would love to serve on boards. In fact, I had received a couple of calls and asking how do they know when these positions become available where they can apply. So my vote is nothing personal against against this individual because I do not know her. It's just against the process because I feel that a person that have lived here for years should have an opportunity to serve on a commission rather than a person that has been here 10 months.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution appointing Mary Ann Lee as a member of the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission.
Whereas the term of Darnell Hawkins as a member of the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission has expired, and whereas the mayor has elected to appoint Mary Ann Lee to succeed Mr. Hawkins, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the appointment of Mary Ann Lee to the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission to serve a term to expire May 31st, 2018 is hereby approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution appointing Mary Ann Lee as a member of the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Yes, sir?
Thank you. Is Mary Ann Lee in the audience? See, there it is again. I don't know this person. I knew Mr. Hawkins. I know him. But I did not know Mary Ann Lee. I do not know that person. And so where are these people that, I've been in Pine Bluff all my life. That's over 50 years. Where are these people? I mean, I don't understand where you find these people that nobody knows and then they don't even show up to be seen. You know, we have so many things in this city to deal with, but we shouldn't have to deal with people that we put on our commissions. It could be the reason why we are stagnated with a lot of stuff, because we put people that really don't have any interest in care for Pine Bluff. We need to start to think about things like that too. I'm not only talking to the audience, I'm talking to City Council. We need to start to put people on our commissions and boards that can relate to us. Because evidently, the people that we're placing on these boards are not relating themselves to us or Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And that's something that we need to check. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, that concludes our agenda.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay. It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.